I still remember the day I first laid eyes on her. The sun was setting over the dusty streets of Dry Creek, and there she was, standing outside the general store with nothing but a tattered shawl and a hopeless look in her eyes. They called her fertile, like it was some kind of mark or curse. But everyone in town whispered that no one wanted her. Not because of who she was, but because of what she could or supposedly could give. I saw the way people stared, the way they avoided her, and I felt a pang in my chest. Tell me, would you have walked past her? Or would you have stepped in when everyone else turned away? Her name was Clara, though no one remembered it anymore. She'd come from the other side of the mountains, running from a past she never spoke of. Folks said she was cursed with desire for motherhood, a blessing no one wanted to claim. She tried to keep her head down, working odd jobs, cleaning the saloon, running errands for anyone who would pay a dime. And all the while, she endured the cruel jokes, the sidelong glances, the whispers behind her back. It was like she carried a storm in her heart that no one dared to touch. I'd been riding into town for a few weeks, looking for work, and I first noticed her when she spilled a basket of apples in front of the sheriff. People laughed, but I didn't. I stepped in to help, and when our hands brushed, I saw something in her eyes, fear, yes, but also a glimmer of hope, as if someone finally saw her. We started talking after that, little by little. I was a cowboy, more used to horses than people, and she was like a wildflower in the dust, delicate yet stubborn. She told me about her struggles, how families refused to take her in, how men sneered and walked away, and how even the town's midwife doubted her, claiming she was too old or too fragile. I listened, mostly because there wasn't much else to say, but inside I felt this fierce urge to prove them all wrong, to show Clara she wasn't worthless, that she wasn't some commodity to be measured by her ability to bear children. I think that's when I realized I'd already made up my mind. I wouldn't let anyone break her spirit, not while I was around. Then came the day that changed everything. The cattle drive had gone wrong. A herd stampeded, and in the chaos, Clara was trapped near the creek, struggling as the water rose around her. I don't know what came over me. Maybe instinct, maybe desperation, but I rode like the devil himself was after me. I jumped from my horse, waded into the churning water, and dragged her to safety. She was shivering, soaked to the bone, but she looked up at me with those big, terrified eyes and whispered, "Why would you help me?" I almost laughed through the cold, almost said, "Because someone had to," but instead, I just held her cloak around her shoulders and told her, "Because no one deserves to be left behind." Now, before I go any further, I need to ask you, what would you have done in my place? Would you have risked everything for someone everyone else had given up on? This was the moment I realized the townsfolk had been blind all along. They didn't see Clara for the woman she was. They saw what they wanted to see. But I saw her fully, completely, and I made a choice to stand by her no matter the cost. So pause right here and really think about it. Could you have done what I did? After that day, things began to shift, though not immediately. The town still murmured, but there was this spark between us, a quiet defiance that no gossip could snuff out. I started bringing her to town events, standing by her when men leered or women whispered. And then came the real turning point. Clara discovered she was indeed fertile, not cursed, and the midwife herself was forced to admit it. Suddenly, the people who had shunned her now tried to offer her wealth, marriages, opportunities that should have been hers all along. But she didn't need their approval anymore. She had me. I watched the same men who had mocked her squirm in shame, and I felt a sense of satisfaction that was more profound than any gunfight or cattle haul. Clara had been vindicated, and the world had no choice but to recognize her worth. In the aftermath, we left Dry Creek together. She found her own freedom, and I found something I'd been missing my whole life, a reason to care, to fight and to love without reservation. The town eventually learned a lesson they should never have forgotten. Judging someone by what they could offer, instead of who they were, is the fastest way to lose their respect. Clara went on to build a life of her own choosing, surrounded by love and respect, and I stayed by her side, proud and grateful that I had the courage to stand up when no one else would. So here's what I want you to take away. Never underestimate the power of seeing someone for who they truly are. Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to believe, willing to act, willing to prove the world wrong. If you were on my side like this video, subscribe for more stories where courage and compassion change everything. And share your thoughts below. Tell me what you would have done in Clara's place, or mine. I'll see you all in the next story.